Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 33 of the Empowered Hearts podcast. How are you, Crystal?
I had a moment before we started that really got me flustered. So I'm like struggling to find my happy back, but it'll come. I just have to let it de-escalate and shake it off.
Yeah,
And it's okay. How are you?
I'm good. I just came back from hot yoga and I was like, I'm going to shower and do my hair. And then I didn't. Didn't. I need to, but I didn't get a chance to. So I am just here.
Here. That's all that matters.
So the topic of today's episode is communicating with spirit, the universe, and your guides. What does that mean? How do you do it? How do you know if they're here? Are we crazy? I don't know, but we don't think we are. So if you want to be crazy with us in this way, this is a good episode for you.
A great one.
So I am a little bit newer to consciously communicating with my guides and the universe. I would say my guides are like I'm the newest to it. So Crystal is like, you are definitely the person for this. But first of all, I just want to say, like, if you want to communicate with the subtle realms, the biggest thing that you have to do first is be quiet and get quiet, right? So we can't, like we talked about on the last episode, I think it was the last one, the one for ego versus soul, we can't have our ego only running rampant and never being in touch with our soul. Because if we're never quieting the ego, we're never going to hear what the soul is saying, what spirit is saying, which is soul. But more importantly, what your guides are asking you to do, because your ego is going to completely take over. So we have to get quiet and get into, like a flow state and meditation, yoga. These things are really, really good for it.
Yep. Just getting quiet the mind.
Yeah.
Step one.
So yeah, like why don't you take the lead on this? Because you are definitely the person.
Well, I think it's important to if you want to start communicating, okay, well, let's break it down. Because first, if we're going to hop right into our spirit guides, if we're going to hop right into that topic, I think it's really important to do it in a safe space. I think in the comfort of your own home where you feel safe, where you can sage first. I think protection is huge when you start tapping into that realm. So I would start by, saging, setting up like a really comfortable, quiet space that just feels really good to you. And then, like Morgan said, getting into a state of quietness and quieting your mind. And then that's when you can call upon them and ask them to come through.
Okay, so when you say like protection, what do you mean?
Protection is really important. And we can get into that whole side of things, but when you open up your channel, which is what you're basically doing, you have to be protected. Otherwise, you can welcome in other energies, right? Which cannot be safe. So asking or visualizing yourself in a bright white shield before you start the process, just having your shield up is really important. You can have protection crystals in your room, on your altar, or in your space just to help, repel negative energy or protect yourself. That is really important.
Hence my necklace here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's important. And then when you're ready to call them in, the thing that I like to just remind people is that it's not like a big scary thing. It's not like, boom, they're just going to be right there in your face.
Right.
They communicate in really subtle ways.
Yeah.
But the more that we get to know them, the more that we start to understand them on a personal level, the louder their subtlety gets.
Yes.
More we hear it, the more we're receptive to it, because we start to understand the way that their energy feels and the way that they communicate with us.
Mhm.
It's really beautiful.
Okay.
Everyone has spirit guides. Everybody on this.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, my mom actually, I was just telling Crystal about this, but my mom visited me today, and she's definitely, I don't think she's a main spirit guide of mine, but she is definitely one of them. And how I communicate, how I communicated with my mom was very spiritual, and she actually was the one who taught me all about spirituality, God, etc. And it's like through our lineage, like on her side. And her birth year was just like a really important number. Number two. Okay, girls. Sorry, my animals are needing to be here today. Um, her birth year were really important to to us for some reason. It was just like our bank pin, and like we just, for some reason, we just gravitated towards that number. And today I saw it twice, an hour apart from each other. And then the second time, like my spirit guides will communicate often with me numbers, but then they will drop a song in.
Yeah.
So I will out of nowhere just like have a song in my head, and like not a song I've been listening to often, not even a song I could know all the lyrics to. It'll just be like part of it, and then I have to go Google it and be like, what does this mean?
Yeah, the
Like I
channels.
read the lyrics. Yeah. So that's my spirit guides communicate with me through song. And I'm developing a relationship with them to be like, oh, okay, like that is, I hear you. I trust what I'm hearing, because a lot of times, like, we can be like, is this a coincidence, or is this my spirit guides, or like, what does this mean? And I think it's really being open to allow what is to come. And I know that's very vague, and that's like the most spiritual jargon anyone can say, but it is. It's just like allow. You can make the intention that you want to connect, that you are open to receive your spirit guide's message. Like you said though, Crystal, like we're always receiving, but it's just switching from like unconsciously receiving their message to consciously receiving their message.
Yeah, we have to be in a state of being able to receive it.
Yeah.
So if our ego is running all the time, like if our mind is just going, 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 we're not in the receiving mode,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I always use this example because this is when I really started to understand how the spirit guide works. And I have chills right now, so I know that they're here. And that's one way that I know.
That's confirmation.
I can feel their presence around me. So I was in the grocery store, grocery shopping, and I got this thought. We say that we hear it, but it's not like we hear it like somebody's talking right next to you. It's like you hear it clairaudiently, which is different.
I think the best way to explain it is when you have like when you have a song stuck in your head, how you can hear that song.
Exactly like that.
That's exactly what clairaudience
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not you thinking. It's not like you like, okay, I'm gonna do this and then this is gonna happen. It's like a backseat hearing in your head. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the grocery store and I heard you should get dish soap.
Oh yeah, I remember the story.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, I don't need dish soap. I have like half a bottle under my kitchen counter.
Yeah.
And I ignored it. And then I go home and Bella had a friend over and they were out on the trampoline and they had taken my bottle of dish soap and made bubbles on the trampoline and they used the entire bottle.
Hmm.
And so your guides are there to help you. They are guiding you all the time. And that was just one example of how they're constantly trying to communicate with us. So now I just listen.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
let 2 bottles.
That was like, oh my God, these two are so cute. My dog right now is like kissing my cat on the head. That was like when I was just at a retreat last week and I was explaining to the girls, we were just all sharing like just different spiritual tips and tricks and just like how we're tapped in and etc. And I was like, oh yeah, like my spirit guides communicate with me with song. And as I said the word song, it happened and it was the song, which was so random. And like the more random it is, the better because you're like, that's it, right? So they dropped the song Knock Three Times. I forget who it's by, but if you look at the lyrics, it was like, hey girl, I see you down there by yourself. Just know that I'm just above you and I love you. So just knock 3 times on the ceiling, whatever the lyrics are. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
Like that's amazing.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was bawling. I think it like I bawled my eyes and I was like, oh my God, I don't know who this, like what spirit guide it is. I'm still not 100% who my spirit guides are. And I would love if you want to like share with me, like, how do we figure this out? Because I still don't know. I know that it's my mom because I saw 1949. I don't know if that was my mom, but I know my mom is one. But like, how do we,
You can ask.
okay.
So when I first, I mean, okay. I am also very clairvoyant. So I can see my guides and what they look like.
I see. Yeah.
And,
I'm honing in on that skill.
uh,
So I would say not yet, but you never know.
yep. And so when when you first begin communication, I think that you're probably going to think that you're crazy and not even sure that what you're receiving is actually it.
Yeah.
But you learn to trust it
Yeah.
because like Morgan said, like, she can't explain why these certain songs come through. Like, it's not like you're listening to it and then it's just replaying in your head. It like literally drops in from nowhere.
Nowhere. And
Okay.
it's so perfect.
Yep.
It'll be like, and sometimes if the lyrics don't make sense right now, that's fine. It just sort of, it's just like, okay, pay attention to this,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. And so I started my very first guide that I was working with, the way that I knew that I had a guide, and this is years ago, I would always see a little blue light,
Huh.
like the color of the third eye, like that indigo blue. And I would see it and it would just pop up sometimes. And then years later, I had a dream of my main guide that I work with all the time. And she what is like a blue avian. So she has that blue aura about her. And this is how I got to know her. So then I asked her, what is your name? And it's really like it's not a name that like you have ever heard in your life. And so then I just like wrote it down. And this is how they communicate with us. So we can ask them, what is your name? And the first name that comes to you is always the name.
Mhm. I think, it's funny. Last night I was in in between awake and dream state, but I was not sleeping. Like I was probably in a theta state, right? And it just as I got a very clear vision of an eagle. Like I was like talking to my spirit guides. I was like, hi, I just want to like I want you to communicate with me. I want you to keep me safe tonight. Like don't let me astral project too much because I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I need to stay in my body because I'm tired. So can you protect me? Please, like, keep me in a bubble of protection. Just keep my soul in my body tonight. And I saw an eagle like so clear. Our hawk. I don't know. I'll have to look. I think it was an eagle. It was like boom right here in front of my face. And I was like, wow. And then I saw a blue jay after that. And I've been seeing blue jays lately, which is so weird because it's November,
Love it. You
right?
can't explain it. You cannot make sense of any of it.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. It was like the other day, every morning when I get up, I meditate, I journal, I pull angel cards. I don't have money in my room. Like it doesn't come in my room. And I was sitting with my blanket on me like this, and I pick my phone up, and right on my blanket is a nickel. Like, that's the other thing, is like they can physically leave things for us, like feathers, coins. What's you see rabbits.
Rabbits and birds are, rabbits, birds, and lately it's been like sentences. So the other day I'm meditating and I was like opening my channel and I was like, I want to bring something through about this. And and then so I have to like ask my ego to like move aside. I have to say that or else I can't disconnect from it. And and then like through it, I'm like, oh, there's my ego again. And like I'm like, oh, is that my ego or am I actually channeling? I'm like what's happening here? And so when I was completed, I had music on Spotify, like frequency music, and it was on my TV. And I opened my eyes. I took a picture of it. I was like, no way. It was like 852 hertz, and it was called Stop Overthinking and Trust. And I was like, of course,
I love it. I love it. That is amazing.
right?
That's like the connection that we have with our guides. And then there's the connection to our higher self.
Right. I feel like that's more like really connecting with your gut intuition and like knowing what you're supposed to do. Now, we all like our higher self and our guides are all working with us. So it's like you have to kind of differentiate.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody sit down. Everyone's very busy here today. It's
Everyone
like
wants to
your house. Everyone
podcast.
today, everyone wants to be in the video. Like
You're
they're
so
they're very cute. My black cat.
I'm actually being left alone right now, which is
I
shocking.
know you're never left alone. I'm like, they're like, mom, mom, mom. Girls, I'm busy right now.
I think Gracie's upset because that's where she lies.
Well, she can get on the couch.
And Keisha's like, I'm laying here today. So
Keisha's licking Gracie and she's growling at her.
I love
Anyway,
this relationship.
I don't know what I was saying.
So intuition.
Yeah, I feel like your higher self is knowing like the clear knowing within you of what you need to do next.
That's
Uh,
like a
and like, but you have to, there's like a few steps to this. Like we can't, fear cannot be involved. Like fear is a human experience, not your higher self or intuition. So if fear is keeping you from doing something or keeping you from saying yes, we have to clear the fear before we make a decision, yes or no. And in the end, it doesn't really matter because you'll always get pushed on the path you need to get pushed on. But if you want to connect with your higher self, disallowing fear to coerce your decision is the best way.
Yeah,
Or-
because fear is ego. Ego will always ask questions or will be scared of everything or
Yeah.
worried, doubt, or it's that side of things. Whereas your higher self is like a gentle nudge, like a guidance. And it
Yeah.
feels good.
And what?
It feels good,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I just have this impulse to go drive to this coffee shop and get a drink.
Yes. Or like, let's say if you're like just, I don't know, doing something and out of nowhere, you're like, I need to move. And you're like, I do. And then it like, it'll be like something that scratches at you, you know? Like with me needing to move to BC, this is like something that's just like, you need to move here. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, like I am open to that. So it'll feel like your higher self guidance. Yeah, it'll be like impulses, but not like impulsively, but it'll be like, random and it will like scratch at you.
Yeah, like the thought of it will continue to
Yeah.
search.
Like
It's
you need
like,
to leave your job or you
yeah.
need to leave your marriage or you need to do this thing or like it's like guiding you. it's doing its job. Its job is to guide you on the path you're supposed to be on. Now, again, if you don't listen, don't worry, because the universe,
We'll make it
your
happen.
higher self, and your guides will all conspire and make damn well sure that you listen.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Because when we don't listen, the reason is we feel the intuitive impulse, or like I call it a guided impulse. It feels good to us, like you need to leave your job and start your own business. Let's use that one.
Yep.
Initially, yeah, that feels really good. It feels exciting. And then the human is like, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be poor. It's not gonna work out. And that right there is what keeps people from listening.
Yep.
And then it comes to the point where the universe is like, she's not listening. She's gonna get fired. So we're just gonna fire her.
Let's use my story, for example. Like, my higher self was like, this job is not for you. And I was like, yeah, but like it pays well, and yeah, but it's close, and like, yeah, but yeah, but yeah, but. And it was like, well, you're not going to listen. We're going to force you to stay home.
Or
So,
it's like, let's say somebody's caught in a toxic marriage,
yes.
and they keep enabling the person. Like, they're going to change. It's going to get better. And it never does. You've got that impulse to be like, maybe I'm not meant to be here. Maybe I'm not meant to be here. And then your partner cheats on you or something, and you end up breaking up. It's like, it's going to eventually happen.
It's just, how much suffering do you want? I mean, you're going to suffer either way, I guess, but it's really growth. It's not really suffering. It's how you look at it, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like suffering maybe in the beginning, but really it's about evolution, and your soul's purpose here is to grow. And so if you're in a dead end situation where you're done growing or you don't need to continue, it's not for your highest timeline. Believe me, you will be knocked on your ass if you don't listen. Like, what's the saying? Like, the universe will like whisper, and then it'll throw a stone, and then it'll throw a boulder. Like, it will. It's like, if your guidance is to like leave a marriage and you don't, like, yeah, it'll like take the person out, or it'll like force you to like cheat on them, or like something.
And the reason that this happens is because you came to this earth to learn soul lessons.
Yep.
And we've talked about this in a past podcast too. It's like, maybe your lesson within the job is to build self-trust, and like start to like actually value your self-worth.
Yeah.
And if you stay in a place where you're continuously compromising yourself, you're not gonna learn those lessons.
Right. And like, if your soul's evolution is to like, yeah, like learn self-respect, it will give you a reason to learn. It doesn't hand you self-respect.
Yeah. If you ask for it,
you're like,
please.
I want self-respect. Okay, well, we are going to so you're going to get disrespected so that you can choose self-respect. And if you don't choose it the first time, don't worry. You'll choose it the fifth time, because you'll be forced to. Or you won't, and then you'll come back to earth and have to do this all over again.
Or it's
And
like, how people
mercy wants to do that.
how people like attract the same relationships,
Mm-hmm.
same kind of person
See?
over and over. And it's like, why do I always attract these people? Because you haven't learned the lesson.
Yep. Well, I'll share with you guys like a big lesson for me is and was codependency, right? I had it at first with my mom, and then I didn't learn the lesson there. And then I attracted partners in where I was codependent on them, or like they were codependent on me, or we were codependent on each other. And then it became like my old boss was a reflection of this as well. And there was a few lessons with that, but it was like, we're going to make it so bad. Like, you got to listen. And if you don't want to listen this time, like, it will continue. It'll just continue to resurface. And then now I've learned my lesson and I'm like, okay. So then I feel like you're given almost like a little test after, like, I'll be tested again. Like, have you learned your lesson of codependency or not? Like,
Yeah.
have you learned? And then you're normally freed from it. And it might resurface once in a while to just continue to choose the path of your lesson of your growth. But then you get moved on to a new task of,
So if 2024 has felt really grueling, like you've kind of been through the ringer and you've been learning the lessons, 2025 in astrology is, did you pass the test?
Mhm.
That's what 2025 is going to be all about. Did you pass? And I'm like, I think I passed them all. We'll see.
We will see.
We'll see.
Okay, what have we not? What about, like, what's your understanding of the universe versus like our higher self?
So universe meaning like source or God energy. What I have learned and what feels true in my body is that source, I'm going to just say source because some people don't like the word God, which is fine,
Mhm.
is a creator energy.
Yeah.
And it works like it's what we are, actually. We
Yep.
are source energy,
Yep.
which would be the same as your higher self, I would say.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
That creative life force,
Yep.
you know, like we are a soul with a human body
Yep.
that has incarnated on this earth. And so I think it really comes down to understanding your power as a creator, because that's why we're here, right? And yeah, the more that we tap into it, the more that we learn. I mean, this is also from a manifestation standpoint too, because we are all creators. We are creating our life through our beliefs, through our thoughts, through our feelings, through everything, the way that we experience life. So I think it's just like that life force.
Yeah. It's like the interconnectedness between all of us,
Yeah.
right? We forget so often that we are on a planet and that none of this is real. I mean, it is real, and there are like, I can be so dramatic with this. I can be like, nothing's real. We should just stay home and never pay our bills. Like, I can get like that, like, because I'm like, it isn't, but that's not going to solve anything. So it's remembering that, like, not to take paying your taxes so seriously. Like, don't make it ruin your life, like, because that is part of the illusion that we have to just be like, okay, it's okay. Like, yes, taxes are important. Yes, money is important, but it's not the only thing. And it takes a few spiritual awakenings to get here. And it's just, yeah. So like I've actually moved out of the word God recently, and I've changed it to the creator. I don't know why. I don't think it really matters, but I just feel like it's just the everythingness of everything, right? It's like the energy of everything.
It's
Uh,
it's
life,
literally
life, that's life force.
everything. It's everything that you experience, that you live and breathe. And I think there's a lot of stigma around the word God. And so it
Yes,
can
of course, because of religion, right?
make people feel a certain way.
Well, I mean, let's talk about why.
Yeah.
God, there's nothing wrong. It's just a word, right? Nothing, this just goes with everything. Nothing is anything, really. Here's a quantum conversation.
I love these.
Yay!
I'm here for
Nothing
it.
is anything unless the meaning you give it,
Yeah.
right? And we forget that. We forget that everything holds nothing, but it holds everything. So you have the choice. And this is why I love subconscious work so much, because when when you attach a meaning to the word God let's say, this is how I'll speak from personal experience. So I went to a Catholic school growing up. I think I'm Catholic. I don't even know. Catholic, Christian, I don't know the difference. Forgive me if anyone's listening and I've disrespected you. But I grew up in that society where we went to church, where, we praised God, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it attached to that was, you have to do things this way. If you're gay, you're not okay. If you're, if you sleep with people prior to being married, you're going to hell. Like, there's all these things that go with that. So we're like, I don't like God because I went to a Catholic school, I was bullied, and it just like didn't feel good to me. It was like, how do you get bullied at a school of God? And nobody explained anything to me, right? It was just like, we read the Bible and this is how it is, and this is how it is, period, the end. And it's like, if you don't follow that Bible, and like, God is something that you have to get to, it's outside of you. Please, God, love me. It didn't make me feel good. I couldn't articulate all this, but it didn't make me feel good. And therefore I was like, no, that's not for me. And so I hated it. And and like, until I alchemized all of this and understood why, I just did not use that word. And then I did use the word, and now I don't really care. It doesn't really matter what
Yeah.
and everything. It's all.
It's all, and it's what feels best to you,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
It can be whatever feels good in your body. A lot of people believe that God is separate from us, or
Yeah.
the creator or source or the universe is like this invisible thing that is going to
Save us.
save us or dictate
Yeah.
everything, but that's not truth,
Right.
right? And maybe one of the reasons why you were so resistant as a child is because you knew
Yeah.
that restriction and limitation isn't source.
Yeah.
Source and creator and universal energy is unlimited.
Right.
It's not, you're going to walk a straight line and do this, this, and this, otherwise you're going to hell. Like, that's not, that's
Oh,
not.
that's not so how I have come to spirituality has not been through like somebody telling me things and me being like, yeah, I'm going to join this cult. It's been, I've read things, I understand things, and I'm like, oh my God, that resonates in my heart. It's like a heartfelt knowing. And so, in the relation to what you just said, like, yes, like, probably as a young one, my third eye was like, no, like, this is not truth. And really, what the creator is there's no conditions on it. And this is where like it gets confusing, because it's like, but it's not all love and light. God is also, quote unquote, evil and negative. It's everything.
Everything.
It's hmm?
It's everything.
It's everything, right? The creator God, the universe has come here to experience life in every form, through animals, through humans, through good, quote unquote, through bad, quote unquote, through service to self. This is something I've really just learned. So there's different types of souls that come in. There's souls that are service to self and service to others. And you do grow more as a soul if you're service to others. But if you're really service to self, like 90% or more, such as some of these celebrities we're seeing that are falling, or other people, when you're really service to self, that also is the creator. Like, it's just different aspects. So it's not that God is going to save us, it's God's experiencing, or the universe itself, through us,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so cool when you realize that. It's like, oh, so like, I'm not a bad person if I'm late paying a bill. No, you're not. I'm not a bad person if I have a bad credit score. No, you're not. It's just a little marker in the way of what you're experiencing and learning, you know?
Oh, and it's also like, as people say, you know, that there's sins, like let's say you stole something.
Right.
Okay, so is that right? Is it wrong? That's kind of irrelevant. What does it do to you?
Well,
What, how
yeah.
does it make you feel? What are you learning from that? Did it feel good?
And I mean, regardless, there's karma for everything. So if you do a quote unquote good deed,
Yeah.
that there's going to be karma for that deed. And so if you steal something, you're just going to have something stolen. Like it's not negative. It's just it's just like whatever you do will be done to you.
Like attracts like.
Yeah, and so it's just matter of fact. I know that we have this whole thing of good and bad, and I think it's really hard to detach from that because we are humans and everything's polarizing, like,
Well, then everyone has a different perspective too, right? So,
yeah,
like, every single person on this earth is going to see something from a different way.
yeah,
So, what one person thinks that is good or bad will be different for another person. You know, it's like we can't judge somebody else for their path or the choices they've made. That's their path and their choices.
yeah,
And if we're judging them, what is that saying about us?
right, exactly.
Right? It comes back to you always.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
It is so fascinating. The more that I dive into my spirituality, the more I'm like thirsty for more.
Yes.
And it's so fascinating. And it's it's been like I said earlier about having this like deep resonance with my heart when I discovered spirituality. Like it took the pressure off. Like I definitely believe that I am a star seed and or a way shower and or I'm definitely not an earth human who's like at home here on earth. And if you're listening to this podcast, this might not be wild to you, but I'll just explain it. So like earth humans are kind of like, I guess what you'd say like NPCs if you're younger. Like that's like you're just kind of here. This is your home. You're more like you're happy doing the matrixy things. You're not here to like shake up evolution. You're here to be a part of learning the shake up of evolution. Like there's all different parts to this. I've never felt at home on Earth since I was a kid. I've been homesick. I don't feel like this is I'm like, where's my home? It's this weird feeling inside where I'm like, I just don't feel like I belong. Like I remember when we had Ariel on the podcast and she shared excuse me, she just never felt like she'd look at other people and was like, how are they just okay here? And I feel the same way. I'm like, what is going on, guys? Like, so when I found spirituality, I was like, oh, thank God. Okay. It's because this is not my home. I'm here to shake up evolution. I'm here to be a way shower. I'm here to be part of the light, which so are you, and it's like, oh, okay, I understand my mission because but some people don't experience this, and we all have like I said, we all have like different missions being on this planet. And so when I found it, I was like, oh, okay, because like this matrix stuff of like we wake up and we go to work and we come home and cook dinner and we walk our dog, like this rigidity of life. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I was like, this is really backwards. Like something's weird here.
Well, I feel that too, even sometimes just, you know, being a stay-at-home mom with the kids, and like it's like sometimes when it becomes so lather, rinse, repeat,
Yep.
that's how I feel too. It's like this is not it.
Yeah.
So I'm out of alignment here. What am I missing? What am I not doing? What, you know, like something needs to shift.
Right. But did you ever get like when I was younger, I would see people like getting married and I'd be like, why? Like nothing made sense to me. It was like I was in between the veil. It's like, why are these people getting married? I didn't know why they shouldn't, but it just was so strange that they were getting married and like, why are these people going to a job? Like, this is so strange. And my mom's always used to be like, you're a very special, different child. She'd always say it. She'd be like, so you're meant for something, but she didn't know what. But she'd always say that, like, you are like right from the get-go. They're like, let's go to school. I was like, no, like, I'm not
Not
doing,
for
like, this is not for me. This is weird. Like, why are we spending the whole day not with our family? Like, it just was bizarre. Like,
my kids are like that.
well, your kids are, I mean, they're part of the new earth. Let's talk about the new earth.
I was going to say, so let's talk about the new earth, because a lot of people think that we're physically going to move on to a different part of earth and it's going to be this
Oh,
whole new experience, but it's just it's a rising of consciousness,
yes,
shifting into 5D consciousness, which just means you're going to see life from
differently.
a different perspective.
I think we actually touched on this on the last episode, but yeah, what when people are like the new earth where it's coming and people are like before
Yeah.
like, oh my God, buckle up, I'm getting my seatbelt on, take me.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's just what it means is we're breaking, I mean, we're seeing this in the US. I don't want to piss anybody off, but I'm actually excited about this election because it's shaking stuff up, right? I won't get into my personal views because I just won't, but I don't really have like many, but it from a spiritual perspective, I do. But the new earth is basically like systems. We're already seeing it. If you look at Hollywood and you see all the stuff about P. Diddy and you see all the stuff about who was the guy before with the island, Jeffrey Epstein, this is old systems and ways of how people did things that were like karma, like we said before, if you steal something, you're going to get something stolen. You, if something is so out of alignment and so out of greed and so out of whatever, it's going to get matched with that energy to neutralize it, right? And so the new earth is breaking down systems, ways,
Limitation,
limitation, energies.
fear,
Hmm?
currency, borders,
Yep.
currency,
Yep.
everything,
It's not
everything.
going to happen overnight. It'll be probably 50 years from now before we like, it's starting though. Like it's starting. This fall of Hollywood is the new earth and like the consciousness rising and being like, we're not putting up with this. Like it's been harmful to people for too long. It's too, and again, it's like too out of alignment one way. It is negative, yes, but it's just it's negative to us, but it's just been pulled too much. If we were all love and light always, everybody, I guarantee we would have to shift that perspective into a more neutral state. Negative stuff would have to happen so we can be neutral.
Yep.
So systems, what else? Like you said, currency, like this money system. I feel like like people keep saying the barter system's going to come back. I don't think it's going to happen overnight again. This will be like, I don't know. I don't know how many years, but it's not going to be overnight.
I think anything in this life that creates separation,
Hmm.
what is going
Yes.
to be neutralized?
There you go.
Because humanity did that.
Hmm.
Humanity created separation because we're all one. Goes back to the creator. We are one. We are whole. So
I always say this, but this is a sick game, and it is. It is.
I say it to myself all the time when things get a little bit too serious.
Yeah,
It's just a game.
it's true.
It's just a game. We don't have to take it that seriously. We don't have to make it mean that much. It's just a game.
So,
The pressure off too, though, doesn't it?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's a personal share we can offer today? Like some personal advice regarding this. I would say I mean, a personal share for me is like this year, you guys have witnessed, like I've been through a major tower moment, but I've grown so much and I'm really proud of myself. Like who I've become is fucking phenomenal. And I cannot wait to see who I become after this because this has been this year was as important as when I got sober. Like it was that big of a deal. The amount of lessons that I've alchemized and chosen to change, um, yeah, is as big of a deal when I was like, I'm gonna get sober. So I would say that's my personal share and like just question everything.
Yeah.
Question everything,
Question
guys.
everything and what doesn't feel good and what does feel good. And
Yes.
start moving towards what feels good,
Mhm.
you know? I agree. So my year, like this one for you, was 2021.
Wait,
That
what?
was
Oh, gotcha.
2021 was
Yep.
my year of
Yep.
change. Is like everything just crumbled.
Yep.
Everything just crumbled. And so I feel like building a strong foundation.
Hmm.
Like that's what the last couple years have been for me. It hasn't been like an overnight big massive change, but it's like slow steps of like peeling back limiting beliefs, you know, coming back closer to who I truly am and why I'm here and what I'm meant to do and you know, just trusting that blind faith and continuing to take steps forward towards it,
Yeah,
which is really beautiful.
it is really beautiful. So what does it mean to you to have an empowered heart today, in this moment in time?
I think I realized it having this conversation, and this is why I love this podcast so much. Um, I got caught up in the game earlier.
Okay.
My kids were fighting and they're so mean to each other. And I was like, I don't understand why you guys are so mean. And it like hurts me,
Mhm.
makes me feel sad. And I felt like I wanted to cry. And now I'm realizing that it's just a game and I don't have to attach anything to that. We can just move on and have a new moment. And
Yep.
that feels empowering.
I don't really, I'm in an odd state right now, I'll be honest. I came back from a retreat. I was sick the whole retreat. So I've learned a lesson there, which like being sick is my biggest fear. One of my biggest fears, being sick and not having money, like not having like no not knowing where money is going to come from. And so don't worry, guys. The universe this year has made damn well sure that I learn those lessons tenfold. So I have had my boulders thrown at me. So I get sick on this retreat I go to. And I'm like, oh my God, I wanted to go home. I'm like, what is the point of this? I have to be vulnerable with people. I have to lean on people. I don't want to do this. So, but I did, and it cracked my heart wide open. And I just kind of feel like suspended in liminal space right now. I feel like I had 800 spiritual awakenings on this retreat, and I'm kind of just like letting the pieces land right now. I don't even know what an empowered heart feels like right now. I just know that it's good.
Mm. That's all you need to know. It feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good. And maybe it's about like to knowing in that time, because you were probably like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why do I keep getting sick? Why is this happening? And then you come home and you're like, I am so glad to be home.
I'm so glad to be home.
And there was a time when you're like, I don't want to be here.
I know. It's
So
really just this year and especially this retreat time has really shaken my perspective on things to a degree that I don't fully know yet, but like for sure that I've given my power away way too much to certain people, to certain ideas, just that like I've really done a lot of work, and like I really like have my shit together. I really do, and I don't think I give myself enough credit.
It's so true.
Yeah.
You have
So
an amazing life.
I do. Thanks, Crystal. Maybe having an empowered heart today is remembering that I'm the shit.
I love it. Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been fun, and I came to you looking, I had all intentions of looking like super cute, and it
You
just
are
is
so
what it is
cute.
today. I'm here with my face rash, but I'm so happy it's out because now I took pictures of it. I'm like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. So
Yeah. Solutions. Yeah,
I
exactly.
love you so much.
Love you.
See you guys next week.